My name is Ivo Kos. I am a modeling artist at Pixar, and I love to models with Subdivs. The reason I love Subdivs is because I can achieve the desired look of a model with very simple geometry. So let's say I want to model a lighting bulb. I'm starting with a cube, and it has a few extra spans. I'm going to put this cube in the origin. And I'm scaling the cube. I'm going to shape it so it looks like a lighting bulb. So this is my geometry. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to display it as a subdiv. So then I can pick some points and add it, so I make it look like a lighting bulb. I can scale it on the top and adjust it and massage it so I can get the desired look really easily. As you can see, the geometry is very simple. Now if I were to model this with polys, it would take me a lot longer and the geometry will be a lot heavier. So let me show you here really quick. I'm going to draw a curve of the profile of the lighting bulb. And then I'm going to revolve the curve. And here's my polygonal lighting bulb. And as you can see, it looks very similar to the Subdivs one. But now if you display the polygons, you can see that the Subdiv one, it's a lot lighter than the one with polys. Now if I want to edit my Subdiv model, I can pick a point very easily and I can move it anywhere I want. It's very simple. So let's say the art director wants to make it a little bit cartoonish or symmetric. I can do that, I get a couple of points and I can move it, shape it, so I have an asymmetric look. Now let me show you some examples of the work we do at Pixar. This is the playground structure we did for Toy Story 3, and it is a mid-ground model. So we wanted to keep it very light with a low polygon count. But the model is very detailed, so subdivs are the perfect approach for this kind of model. Let me show the model in Maya. And I'm going to show you some of the surfaces we have. So for example, the panel here, it has a lot of rounded edges and rounded surfaces and looks very complex. But the geometry, it's actually very simple. So that's the geometry. Lots of cubes and very simple geometry. And when we subdivide it, it looks as complex as we want. The same thing for the ropes here. Those are just polygons that we extruded, added some extra spans. Those are pretty much cubes, right? And then when you subdivide it, it looks like a rope. Another good example is this panel here. You see those rounded surfaces, and it's all simple geometry. One interesting trick that we use, this panel here, it has a rounded interior edge, but the exterior edge is actually sharp, right? We have sharp corners. So that's the geometry, that's this subdivided geometry. And to achieve the sharp corner, we actually add creases here. And those creases have values, so if I add, for example, a value of 0, then it's going to subdivide and become rounded like the interior part. Let me get the crease editor. So this is our crease editor. And I'm gonna show the crease value so you can see how it changes, how the geometry subdivides. So I'm gonna set it to 0, so you can see how it subdivides. Now I'm gonna change it to 1, so the corners start to get sharper. And we can go all the way to 5, and then gets really sharp. So that's a trick to use to help us maintain the low polygon count, and we can achieve the desired look. One surface that looks very complex and sophisticated is the slide. Let me show you here. This looks lots of rounded edges and round surfaces, and it seems to be very complex, but the geometry behind it's quite simple. So this is how Subdivs can help us achieve the desired look and keep a very low polygon count. Let me show another example here, it's a model that we did for Monsters University. It's the fraternity basement, and it's a model that has a lot of complexity, lots of props, architecture is very heavy, and Subdivs help us to keep the low polygon count so we can have all that complexity. Let me show the model in Maya. We can look how the props are. So for example, the lamp. This lamp looks nice and rounded. A lot of detail. But let's look what the geometry actually is. So it's quite simple. And when we subdivide it, we can get all the rounded edges and round surfaces. So another interesting example is all those pipes and the electric box. This has a lot of complexity there. And the underlying geometry is pretty simple too. We use cubes, we extrude the cubes, we add some extra shapes. And then when you subdivide it, you get the nice rounded edges. So this is how Subdivs help us to achieve the desired look and keep the models simple and a low polygon count.